Hello, my name is Jordan, and I am from Soups and Sabers.
And I'm Logan from the Screen Society podcast.
We're continuing our coverage together here, the two podcasts, for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Game of Thrones spinoff. We're talking season 1, episode 5, In the Name of the Mother, which was directed by Owen Harris and written by Hiram Martinez, Ty McKell, and Ira Parker. And it premiered February 15th, 2026, the day after Valentine's Day. Yeah, so I guess you kind of called it, and I think we both kind of called it last week that, we were thinking, I think you had said something about a flashback episode from what we were
Mhm.
seeing on the thing, and I still thought we'd get the full battle because of the pacing, or at least some of the battle. And we did get all of it. We did get all of the battle. And, the flashback kind of came at a time where in the novel or novella, Dunk gets kind of knocked unconscious for a bit and then wakes up. So it seems like a good spot to put a flashback. It's a very highly rated episode so far on IMDb, but I will say I've seen a lot of the book readers be very upset about the flashback, and I saw some proclaim they're done with the show and will never watch another episode again. And I think that's hysterical because I just know they're not going to help themselves. They're gonna tune in next week and see what happens.
Yeah, no, I saw that same kind of thing, and listening to podcasts today, there's a lot of people, and I love streaming things, so I listen to a lot of their reactions
Yeah, I
to it,
haven't
and
listened to
they're
theirs yet.
yeah, and they're really good about finding the different dark areas of Reddit that really get on a spree of cancellation of shows because they don't like the way that it's done. But I would say that they are in the very small minority right now, Jordan, just because of everybody I see on X and even
Mhm.
on Facebook. Like I've got a bunch of friends that are now just getting into it, and it's just funny because it's you and I joked about it, but we're kind of the first ones there. We were there before it got real cool. So yeah, I don't know. I've really enjoyed this show. I was gonna make the joke of like, I just wish that it would get better. Maybe the next couple of episodes.
Oh, we only have one.
I know. Maybe the next couple of episodes will just be a lot better. No, no, these. I mean, it's so far. It's been everything I've wanted it to be and more.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I will say I don't think for me this is the best episode of the season. The way people would say, I still think for me episode 4 just hit all of those points I really wanted. Um,
I'll
but
agree with you on that.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As highly as this one is rated, I totally agree.
yeah. I mean, and I don't want to like blame the flashbacks because I do think they were good. The episode was good.
Mhm.
Did we need the flashbacks? I would say you really don't because of the novella doesn't do any of this either and is very highly regarded. But, you know, they're stretching a novella that's 80 pages to 6 episodes. So, blame that on whoever you want, whether it's HBO not wanting to make just like a 3-hour movie,
Mhm.
um, or 3 one-hour episodes. I've never really, other than British shows, I've never heard of a show having 3-hour-long episodes. So in a season, so that was probably always out of the realm of possibility. 6 gives you 6 weeks of people tuning in every Sunday night at 10 p.m. to watch this show. Um, I mean, they were really hyping up. I seen people that were saying that this was going to have higher ratings than the NBA All-Star game because
I'd assume it did.
this was the real All-Star game with the 7v7,
Yeah,
trial of 7. Um, it may have. I have no clue.
it probably did. Like, people
After you
weren't even
factor
going to the
in
game.
after you factor in everything like HBO Max and everything, probably,
Yeah.
probably. But uh, I got to get your thoughts here on. For people that don't know, I've read the full novella. Did you finish it at this point?
Yes, yes.
Did you finish it before this episode?
No, after the episode, because
Okay,
I just
great.
didn't wanna be spoiled on
Yeah.
anything.
So I guess what was your original thought when you are watching this and we see, the best Targaryen, Baelor, struck down?
Yeah, I think I called it an episode or 2 ago where I was like, "I think Baylor is gonna be the one that bites it." Just because everything you know about Game of Thrones, Jordan, like,
Yeah, it
you
was so hard for me to keep a straight face when you said that. I was like, yeah, he's nailed it."
yeah, because I was just like, they need something to set up uh, a really huge fall for different characters, and I felt like there's not really anybody in this show, and they're not gonna kill Egg, so, like, at least not yet, but I feel like Baylor would be the tip kinda like you had with your Ned Stark, like, you need that big depth to really push home, and the fallout from this, Jordan, is gonna be spectacular because I think the Targaryens obviously are quickly losing a lot of control over, the Seven Kingdoms, and I think people are starting to question if they have the strength, and it's starting to make sense how Daenerys ends up in the position that she is in once we catch up with her in Game of Thrones, where the Targaryens have pretty much fallen off the map because they've just not really had that iron fist to kinda rule with. So this is really interesting for me. I was Jordan, I was thinking about this, I'm going, I would have been, because I kinda had an inkling, but I was like, could you imagine if you had gone in a little like, literally just completely blind to this and not
Yeah,
as this?
yeah, I was gonna say, let's say, you're drawing on your experience in this world of A Song of
Right.
Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. Imagine this is the first thing you're watching
Right.
of this. That probably does hit differently, right?
Yeah.
'Cause this is a guy that's honorable. He comes in and, you know, fights for this honorable knight, hedge knight, and has kind of been steering this guy in the right direction.
Mhm.
And I remember being shocked reading the book of this part because I thought, "Oh, everybody got out of there except
Yep.
for Humphrey Harding and the 2 Humphreys
I was gonna say
fight
the
it,"
Humphreys,
okay?
yeah.
That's gonna be a band name I create, is the
The
2
2
Humphreys.
Humphreys. Bite it?
Yeah, the 2 Humphreys bite it. But you have, you know, Baylor, and then he starts kinda glitching at the end with
Mhm.
realizing something's wrong, and they take off this tight helmet,
Oh,
and you see the, exposed brain or whatever. Um, you know, that hit, and, I was actually scrolling on Twitter today, and I saw a interview with George R. R. Martin from 2022. Did you see this?
mm-mm.
A little clip where they asked him what little minor event changed the course of Westeros history the most, and he said the death of Baelor, right here.
Oh,
Because he's
man.
saying he would have been a really great king. He was next in line. He was the hand of the king. People loved him. He would have been a really great king. And this death kind of causes a lot of the stuff that continues to go down. Because now the next heirs are, it eventually leads to, as we know from the vision in
Yeah.
one of these episodes, the Aegon being king,
Right.
and his line his lineage ends up leading us to the Mad King. So,
Right.
this would have been a very different, trajectory for Westeros. So it is a very
Right.
pivotal moment, and it happens here. And I think it's funny that George says that it's like the biggest thing in his world, the biggest minor event that happens that kind of
Yeah.
kicks everything into what we know of Game of Thrones when we get to 90 years later down the line here. Um, Also, last week I asked you about the vision that Darren had, right, of
Mhm.
the dead Targaryen dragon, the dead
Yeah.
dragon on top of Dunk. I would say most people think it is this moment here where Baylor
Gotcha.
kind of collapses into him. But after you mentioned your reading of it, I did see a few others mentioning that online, that maybe it has to do with that Summerall, them dying in the blaze,
Mhm.
that it's maybe the House of Targaryen that has fallen on Dunk. And so there was very a lot of interesting interpretations. But when I read the novella and it happened to this scene, I was like, there's the dragon on top of him. Because the question is, did you kill him? Did I kill him? And he's like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
I guess you could read that either way, in the sense of he didn't take, finish Baelor, but the reason Baelor's out there fighting is because of Dunk. So it is a little bit of a, you know, domino effect in that regard.
Yeah, I think I almost want to change my interpretation now that I've seen this. I actually do think Tehran was talking about what you said. I think it makes more sense in the fact that like the way he approaches that is when he says it to Dunk back in the end, he says it is like, I've had nightmares about you. And I think it's more of because I'm thinking about this where Daeron's probably not if he is alive during the fall of the Targaryen house. Like obviously he's going to die. So maybe, how is he having that vision if, I don't know how that vision would work necessarily if he was dead already. So I'm thinking you're right. I think this might be him collapsing into Dunk as Dunk's trying to grab him. I do think it does fit with that interpretation more so than what I was thinking and what a lot of people are thinking that I've seen, like what I've said.
Yeah, I
When
think the
house falls.
I think the easiest conclusion to this is when George wrote this, it was I think after the first novel or the second novel of Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
Not saying he's not somebody that plans. He's very open about how he is a gardener when it comes to writing. He just kind of writes and see where it takes him. He does have outlines of stuff that he knows for sure, and that's what he's gave D&D when they were working on Game of Thrones and everything. But I would assume at the time he wrote this, it was foreshadowing for this moment in the novella.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that could be just like it could work both ways, honestly, because like you could read it however you want, I guess. But I think when George was writing it, it was supposed to be for Baelor. But when he continued writing, if he keeps writing more of this stuff with Dunk moving forward with the Targaryens, it could be a reoccurring nightmare where it continues to happen in a certain regard. But we won't know because George will never finish those books. So
I can't wait until whoever gets the rights to his books gets all the information because I think there's going to be.
He
this
said he's
moment
not
of,
going to
like,
allow that to happen. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
He
see.
said he's not.
People are pretty good at that though. Like, I mean, people have protected their stuff. I know it was A.
Yeah.
Milne who wrote Winnie the Pooh. Like, he was he is very close to like just owning everything, and nobody can really touch it without that. What do they call that when the
Public domain.
estate? Yeah, like they can't.
Oh, when the estate.
When the estate's not going to approve of content being released.
Yeah, he doesn't want a Wheel of Time situation where
Right.
he takes where Sanderson takes over or something. But
I was gonna say, would you take it on if George reach out to us?
yeah, with my speed of writing, Logan, I'm not finishing it either.
Well, that's the point, George.
have
You
all
don't really
these
have to just have
ideas.
outlines. That's all you have to have, and then just pitch it to HBO.
Yeah. Well, I have all these ideas in my head for novels, and I start
Yeah.
them, and I just my writing speed, especially with a kid right now, is non-existent. But yeah, so I mean, people would be like, "Well, okay, George picked a 34-year-old guy. That's pretty good. He has a long life ahead of him. He's going to finish these books." And I'll tell you, they're not getting done.
Landon's gonna end up with the rights to the Game of Thrones series.
Yeah. But yeah, so we had flashbacks. I guess let's dive into the flashbacks of Dunk's life here, where we have it flashes back to Dunk outside of King's Landing, where he has like this. It's a battlefield that just happened. I'm guessing it was part of the Blackfire Rebellion, or some sort of battle due to that, because the guy that they try to sell the stuff to does mention about the rebellion. But he's out there, he's pickpocketing people from that are dead on the battlefield, and this one guy is still alive, and Dunk takes pity on him and tries to put him out of his pain to suffocate him, when his friend Rafe comes over and says, "No, let's try to like ransom him back."
Yeah.
Damn. Cold-hearted.
Pillage him. We're gonna take everything that he has on him.
and then also sell him
and
back
then sell him back
to
to
the
whoever
enemy
is
or to his people, I guess. And yeah,
yeah. I was like, there's no way that he would live. Like,
no,
I was
he
like,
was struggling,
yeah, he was
coughing
dead.
up
Like,
blood.
dude was dead. Yelling "Ma, Ma." Like, that's when you've seen the light, when you're yelling for your mom.
I'm
That's when you're
thankful though Dunk said that because I didn't get that that's what he was saying.
Me either, I was really confused,
I thought
yes.
he was like trying to say a full word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like he couldn't spit it out, so like that was the first syllable. And then when
Mhm.
Dunk said he was calling for his mom, I was like, oh, I guess that's what he was doing. Because I was like, man, what's he trying to say?
Right, yeah. Does he have, like, a secret? Maybe he was telling Dunk where the eggs were for the Targaryen
Yeah,
house.
yeah. But they go back to Flea Bottom, and they also pickpocket a city watchman named Alistair, and they're trying to buy passage to the free cities over in Essos, but they still can't afford it. Not enough. And that's when Alistair finds them, corners them again, takes all of their money. Rafe stupidly steals Alistair's dagger.
Yeah.
He notices within 30 seconds and just slits her throat, and
Yeah.
she dies in front of Dunk. And it seemed like, obviously Dunk they were more than friends. Dunk really liked this girl.
Oh, yeah, he did. They loved each other, and they say
Yeah.
that. She's like, "Why don't you go to Essos with me?" And it's like, "Why would I?" And we go, "Well, that's what people do when they love each other." And he goes,
Mhm.
"What?" And then she goes, "You love me, I love you. That's what happens." And it's very much that childlike Jordan, when like girls have a crush on you when you're on the playground and you become more possession than you are actually in love. It reminds me
Mhm.
of the old elementary school like crushes where the you just went along or you went along with the pretty girl on the playground and you're just like, "Sure, yeah, whatever you want me to do. I'm in love. Absolutely." That's what it reminded me of.
And yeah, she obviously she shows Dunk the dagger before, and he's kind of like, "Man, shouldn't have done that." And then,
Yeah.
30 seconds later she's dying. And while she's dying, the Alistair's coming over along with his buddy to take out Dunk or chase him, and we get our introduction to Sir Arlen, who comes out drunk and says that he is going to like leave the boy alone, starts swinging like crazy, and he chops off the one guy's head and then kills Alistair.
Mhm. It's pretty
That
brutal.
was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
The decapitation, I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah. And, if you know the science of pigs, they will eat, anything that's dismembered from, uh, any human. Like, they will eat that head, and they will devour the whole thing, flesh and everything. So, that was pretty disgusting. That pig decided he was gonna go eat it. Jordan, there was a really crazy line, like, that I really liked was in this one where they're talking when Alistair's talking to Rafe and Dunk about stealing, he goes, stealing from a nobleman, that's called being a thief. But
Yeah.
and then Dunk's like, well, what do you call it when you steal from us? And he goes, life. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dang, I was like, that's so messed up.
We're
And then,
experiencing that in our lives right now,
right,
right?
that's
I
what I
mean,
was thinking.
with the,
Yes, the way our current,
billionaires or whatever,
yeah,
the way capitalism works right now.
right. We would do well in Flea Bottom, you and I, Jordan. I think we would do well. Like, I feel like
I don't know if I would. I think I would probably had my throat slit. Uh,
I was shocked about how quick that happened. Like, I thought it was gonna get more of like a, "You see, I'm gonna," and then, like, would slice her cheek or something. I did
no,
not.
I was actually kinda shocked he noticed that quick because I thought maybe, like, it would get drawn out a little bit
Yeah,
and, like, they would chase him a little bit more, but he catches her in, like, 30 seconds, and she's done.
right. And just, like, right away went, like, "Bye. Try that again."
Yeah.
Brutal.
Well, yeah, he was like, "I'm done with this girl. She stole from me the first time. I'm gonna teach her what happens."
Right.
Um, just crazy. Just totally unfortunate for Dunk. It's just like a continuing theme for him that everybody he's kind of right. He mentions that his mom could be coming back for him, but he does presume she's dead. He loses Rafe, so he loses mom, loses Rafe, loses Arlen. We don't Tanzil already left in present day as well.
Mhm.
So he loses her and is, probably going to be searching for her. So it's very, for somebody that has lost a lot, he is still this very honorable guy. And I think you see why he is that way too, not just because of Sir Arlen saving him, but he was helpless when Rafe gets killed. And he sees Tanzil getting hurt by the prince and steps in. You have to think in the show, because this whole thing is not in the book, but in the show, Dunk is almost like making up for that fact that he couldn't have helped Rafe back then,
Mhm.
and sees, like, if I am a knight and my code of honor is to say I'm supposed to help the innocent, I should have been able, somebody should have helped Rafe when the city watch, Alistair killed her.
Yeah.
But nobody was there for him then, so he's stepping in to do that now, and he's keeping up with his and part of it is because Sir Arlen comes out and fights Alistair for him and protects him, an innocent, because Dunk really was innocent. He didn't do any of the pickpocketing or stealing there. But it's just a little bit of a parallel here of him trying to maybe right or wrong from his past.
Yeah, I think you saw obviously what Dunk has gone through with so much loss, and this would be easy to turn into hatred towards a particular group. And I do think that he has, while he is very honorable, very noble, I do think that he gets to a point, and we see it in this episode when he gets like this, where he is angry, and when he is going to beat down the prince, like it just it feels like he is ready to break, ready to snap at any point, but he also has kind of this conscience that's like, maybe I shouldn't, because especially in this stage, like I just feel like he would have gotten into, imagine that he kills Arion. Like I'd love to see what would have happened, because like he was Jordan. He was to that point where he was like, I might kill him here. That was like he might actually just kill him.
Yeah.
So, but I do think too, on the flip side of it, we also see what Sir Arlen was. I think that's what was cool about the flashback that I think a lot of people are kind of ignoring, is the fact that Dunk has learned this from somebody, and because he's been with Arlen for so long, we do need, like, in this kind of story, I do feel like we as the audience do need some background of, like,
We need more
where
than
did he
just
come
his
from?
monster dong,
Right.
like we need
Yeah.
we need
Right.
flashbacks of substance for
Yeah.
Sarlin. And I agree with you. I think he one thing I think is really interesting about the whole Arlen part of the flashbacks is there's still not a lot of we don't see a lot of like wisdom passed on. We don't see a lot of speaking to each other because Dunk is kind of following him without Sir Arlen realizing it
Yeah.
for a while. And I think what that shows is we do see Arlen drinking and being drunk and singing and all of that kind of stuff. But again, it's about action and what you do, right? And he led Dunk not just by what he's told him that we've seen in other flashbacks or stuff, or what Dunk has said, but he leads by action and by doing. So while we're seeing him be like a drunken mess and everything, what Dunk is seeing is that he came out and stood up for him when nobody else did, because it's what he is supposed to do as a knight.
Yeah.
And then he follows him and he's drunk and stuff. But guess what? When he notices this boy following him, he goes over and says, "Get up," and
Yep.
and helps him up. And from what we know, he makes him his squire.
Mhm.
And he takes him in because it's the right thing to do. And I think that is the main thing. You don't get, like, I feel like in other shows or other stories, you would get this guy imparting wisdom and life lessons to Dunk in this flashback, but they are very separated still by this distance of Dunk following him from such a great distance that, again, he's just really taking in the actions that this guy is doing. And while he's a drunk and a mess, the action he sees him take is he takes his knighthood seriously.
Mhm.
He saves Dunk, and then he also sees him practicing with the sword at times, right? So he is training. He isn't just like a drunken mess. He does take it seriously, but he is also a bit of a mess as well.
Yeah, and I did see too, I didn't notice this on my first watch, but, they said this in streaming things, and then I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So, like, he buries the lore is he's burying a nephew, like, Sir Arlen is burying a nephew that was his squire before, and there's a
Yeah, because the helm there,
mound.
right?
Yes, and he picks up the helm, and that was a nephew that was also his squire, and then so Dunk stepping in makes a lot of sense, and so that would tell you probably why Sir Arlen is, maybe he was always a drunk, but now is trashed almost all the
Yeah,
time.
lost a family member.
Right, because of the grief. And so I could definitely see that, but I do think it is so perfect and it fits so well with how Dunk sees the world, almost as an observer, because that's what he's always been.
Well, like you said, he doesn't hold it against like a particular person. Like he could probably hate all
Yeah,
gold cloaks because of what they did to Rafe. And while the Kingsguard are not gold cloaks, they are like the next step
right,
above the City
above.
Watch,
Yeah,
right? They're above the City Watch. But like when he has those interactions with the Kingsguard while they're arriving in like the first or second episode, he thinks of them as honorable, right? So like he still has that like like deference to authority
yeah,
as a knight. But you could see a whole different world of like him being like Anakin Skywalker and hating all City Watch and all
mhm,
people of the Kingsguard and stuff because of what the people at the bottom did that maybe the people at the top don't even know what they're doing.
yeah. And Dunk steps in when he sees people mistreated, no matter who they are.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool too, because I think Rafe appears to be Dornish or of Dornish descent, and
Mhm.
that's what Tansel is. So that
Mhm.
I first Jordan, I really did I thought, oh shit, does he know Tansel from like
Oh,
before?
yeah.
I like it took me a bit to be like,
Before they
what?
say your name, yeah.
Yeah, before they say Rafe, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, we're gonna totally different character. But I thought that, but then I think he sees a little bit of young Dunk sees, Rafe and Tansel in the way that
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
exists. So I think that had something to do with it. But you get a lot of lore from Dunk. Like he's been around. Like he's a street. He reminds me of Oliver Twist a little bit, up to no good,
Yeah, yeah.
but nothing that's gonna harm anybody. He's just trying to live. So
Yeah, it was, very, very interesting backstory for stuff that we did not know. This is all brand new compared to the book, so it is controversial, I guess, in that regard. But uh, going back now to the actual battle that happens after this. Um, you know, Dunk is taking a big beating, right? One thing I want to give props to the show for as well is how long they actually did battle with their helmets and everything on. It seemed way more realistic than what we usually get in these type of shows and movies where everybody's riding without a helmet and you know, not that's not how it's supposed to be. Like you would want
yeah,
protection for your head if you're on a jousting. Like you would,
right.
right? And they kind of cut out a part that happened in the book where where Baelor says that they were going to use tournament lances, which are not as, I think they were not as long, but they were sturdier, or vice versa, right? So there was a reason for them to be using tournament lances instead, to have an advantage over top of the other side was using like war lances for the joust. I guess they didn't really need to bring that up, but people were like, "Hey, it showed Baelor knew what he was talking about."
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I was referencing last week of Baelor says something this episode that is a very clear indication on why him joining makes sense, and that is him saying the lines of, "As an heir to the throne, the Kingsguard cannot attack me." So that's 3 fighters on this team of 7 that cannot go after Baelor at all.
Right.
Due to oath. So I'm like, that takes out that takes a huge advantage, because to win this battle of 7, you have to either defeat the main person or I guess
Right.
all 7, right? So if Baelor is standing at the end along with Dunk, you're like, man, that's pretty good odds, because the Kingsguard can't attack him, you know. So it helps even it out. And we also know Darren was falling down at the sight of anything, just a one little knock, right? So
Right.
that's 4 people that are not going to harm Baelor. So really, he's only going up against Maekar, and he's going up against Arian. But Arian's preoccupied by Dunk. So really, the only people he has to worry about is Stefan Fossaway and
his brother.
So it really, that is so smart. It really narrowed down the field of competitors there for Baelor, but it doesn't help. So I don't know if they mentioned this in the episode, but what people think happens here is that the helmet is a little too tight.
Yeah.
And it's because he doesn't have his armor there, so he's wearing somebody else's armor because he's joining at the end here.
It's Egg's armor, isn't it? He's wearing the child's armor.
Yeah. But because it's so tight, when there's no wiggle room for the hit.
When you get hit in the head.
When it smashes in the helmet, it goes into his head.
Did we hear who hit him yet?
In the book, he says he thinks it was his brother because of
that's what I thought.
Because he was facing him.
Right.
Apparently, what I've seen, I didn't actually watch this yet, but because it was before I watched.
You didn't watch the episode?
I didn't watch this at all. I haven't seen the whole show actually. No, but I hadn't seen this clip because it came up before I watched the episode.
Yeah.
Where people were like, if you slow down this part, you can see that Maekar is the one that hits him.
Yes.
With his mace. Hitting the and it happens like I think on the left side of the screen while something else is going on the right side of the screen. So I saw that floating around Twitter. If people look that up, you can see it. I didn't notice it when I was even watching it looking for it, and I didn't notice it because I got drawn into all the other stuff going on.
It's because it's when Dunk and Arian are really like starting to get into it, like knocking each other out. And so you see it off in the left-hand distance. And I've seen the picture of it, and it's Maekar hitting Baelor in the head. And so that's where, but again, I thought that just without having seen it the first time and not reading Twitter, I just thought this makes more sense if Maekar is the one that ends up killing his brother. Like,
again, you have to, if you do the math, the 3 Kingsguard cannot hurt him. Darren can't hurt him.
Right.
Arian's preoccupied. That leaves Fossaway and his brother. So that's
does the brother want the throne? Like that's a sin because he's so far down it's 4th. He's the 4th in line behind the 3 brothers. So he would be 4th. Maekar killing Baelor, he now jumps to 3rd. So then that would mean that the older brother, but then didn't they say one of the 2 older brothers is kind of wacky anyway? So they're like, well, he probably wouldn't take the throne. So then it would leave Maekar, I think, 2nd in line technically, because the king would not give it to one of the brothers. Because I'm pretty sure they set that up, right? Like, I'm pretty sure there was something about one of the brothers just not being fit to be a king. But I could be wrong. I could be making that completely up. But I would think, right, this would set Maekar up to be pretty close to being the heir to the throne.
That's a good question. That's
I
a
didn't
good
mean to like just
question.
try to stump you on it, but I was like, but nobody else is talking about it either. So I was like, so does that mean that Makar is because he was fourth, and then because Egg would be fourth, so it was like fourth of the fourth. So Egg is like so far down the list that he would not be because I know Makar has 4 kids too, right? And maybe that's who I'm
Yeah,
thinking of
yeah,
that
yeah. Because
has
Makar has well, he
Darren
has Darren,
Aaron,
Aryan, and Egg,
and
and
then there's one
Aemond.
that's yes,
Aemond, who is on the wall
yeah,
later in life. He's
yeah,
at the Citadel during
yes.
this. That's a good question.
Maybe we can find out before next episode because I was like, I'm interested now because I feel like that's what it's setting up because I'm not now read the next novellas, nor do I have
Me
any
neither.
clue where this is headed.
I'm finishing that. I'm gonna listen to the second one after this.
Yeah.
So who is the king right now is I believe Darren the Second,
Yes.
which is also he's called Darren the Good at this
Yep.
time. Um, so I think I have the family tree on my phone. I think you are right though that Makar would, obviously he would jump the line because he's
Mhm.
younger, right? So he is below him. I don't know if I would go as far. I think at this point, right, Makar is
He's
out
still
there
pretty far
fighting
down.
for his. He's fighting for his son who's out there, right? I mean, so
Yes.
like that's
He has no
probably
interest
part
in
of it.
ruling. Yeah. Like Makar doesn't really because remember when they're sitting at the table when Dunk first asked if he knows Sir Arlen, and he was Baylor's making the joke of like, "Hey, don't kill me off too soon, or like, don't kill off the king too soon. Then I'm gonna have to become the king." And the brother kind of is like, Makar's like, "Yeah, whatever, dude." But it also doesn't feel like Makar's kind of like, "I don't want to be king. Like, I don't want this," because that's the way he
Hmm.
feels. Is like he's not. He does not seem crown driven. He doesn't want to sit on the throne, but it does sound like if Aaron was given the chance, dude would take that. Like, I mean, he's like Joffrey reincarnated, or I guess he is the Joffrey before Joffrey exists.
So it looks like Darren had Baelor, Ares, Aelinor, and Makar.
Yeah, so
I
he's
also had Rhaegal too, but I think that was a. So I think it's 3 sons and 2 daughters. If I'm
yeah, and maybe one of them's a bastard kid because I was like, I wonder where Makar ends up being in this, and I'm sure we'll probably get answers in the next episode actually, because like I wonder if we'll get kind of a nod to like, hey brother, now you're dad, now you are second in line to
yeah,
take over.
it's true. That could be a little bit of an extended thing, I guess, because that's one thing I was going to ask you. And now that you finished the novella, like this is very near the end of the novella, right? Where
Yeah.
where we are.
Yep.
There's a little bit of wrap up that they do with, you know, not to spoil stuff too much, but like setting up the next adventure,
Yeah.
and that consists of keeping Dunk and Egg together. So however
Right.
you think they're going to do that, listener, they're going to do that. So
Yeah.
uh there is a little bit of stuff that still needs to be sorted, so maybe they could add in a couple scenes because I don't know how else you make this last another 30 minutes. And that's why I was wondering if they would just split the battle last week. I
Yeah.
was like, because
Well,
you would have some sort of fallout
yeah.
to still happen, but it seems like next week is all fallout, I would assume.
Mhm.
I haven't watched the trailer for it either, so I actually have
So
no clue.
I saw the trailer. It
What does it
is
show?
it's going to be a lot of conversation between, which makes sense. Like it doesn't as much in the novella, but there is obviously conversation going to happen between Makar and Dunk. It shows Egg and Dunk with Makar, and then it also Jordan it actually showed a lot of Baratheon. Like he was in it quite
Yeah,
a
so we
bit.
got to
So
get wrap up on that too.
yeah, so I'm thinking there's gonna be some stuff there, and then I think that this is gonna be heavily Targaryen. Like, I feel like it's gonna be how are the brothers and Maekar dealing with this now that they're all back together? Now we're gonna finally see Jordan Egg and Maekar
Yeah, so
interacting,
does
and
Maekar like freak out at Aryan being like, "You little twerp for
that's what
starting
I
all this"?
that's
Like
what I
that's what
thought.
I'm wondering.
Yeah,
And that would show us that maybe he didn't really want to hurt his brother, and it was
yes,
I was taking care of my son, but you should have
yeah,
kept it as a normal, uh, trial of
yeah,
combat, or you could have faced him 1v1, or we could have you could have just not attacked that little poor girl. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Your temper, child,
right.
got us into this mess. And the king's not gonna be happy. Like, the king
Right,
had
loses
directed them to not make these ruffles, and
and loses his son,
right,
who was the heir.
who was gonna be the best heir. Who probably
Right.
wouldn't I mean, like you said, like, Game of Thrones probably doesn't happen if Baelor
Mhm.
Targaryen
Yeah.
lives, like, Daenerys is still alive and, and Jon Snow's just hanging out in the Great White North, and we've got all that, and they kill and Baelor goes and kills all the White Walker, like, we'll just have all sorts of fun,
Yeah,
but
all those people may not even exist either
I was
because,
gonna
like,
say,
Daenerys and
the
Robert
bastard
Baratheon
kids,
are all
yeah,
part of Aegon's
right.
line.
That's
Uh,
true.
and he's making those deals on, like,
Yeah,
wedding people to certain people because he's king. He wouldn't be king at all,
that's
like,
true. That's a good point.
everything changes. So you gotta be happy he died, I guess, at some point because we don't
Yeah.
get Game of Thrones.
Yes.
But
Well, I mean, some people are like, "Well, good. They
yeah,
don't
yeah,
need
good. The 8th
to."
season is gone now.
It's
Uh
the multiverse.
I did wanna say too, I was, man, I was about to go somewhere with this that I'm now kinda blanking on. Give me a second as I
So
think about
just
this.
some of the things that I loved. I love so there's a moment where the
Mm.
camera's behind Dunk during the battle, and it goes in through his head into the
Yes,
mask.
yes,
I
yeah.
was like,
I
"That was
love that view a
cool."
few times where you see it,
I
like,
was
through his
like,
slit.
yeah, and, like, you can hear like, you're in the helmet with him, and then there's points where, like, mud or blood splash onto the camera, and I'm like, "This is so cool." Like, this is by far it gave me Battle of the Bastards, like, it
Yes,
gave
yeah.
me very Jon Snow standing there just, like, swiping at people, so but go ahead with your point so you don't forget this
Okay,
time.
what I was gonna say is, a lot of people were upset last week that they didn't get the scene of, saying like, "Oh, a knight that remembered his vows," and showing that the people are on his side. While they didn't do that, we got pretty clear indication that the people watching are on Dunk's
Mhm.
side when he gets up and everybody's cheering for him to get up.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really cool moment. It starts with, Egg cheering him on.
I love Egg so
"Get up,
much in this
sir."
episode. Get
And
up.
he gets up, and my god, the beating that Dunk
Oh,
took in
just
this. Like you said, they did cool stuff too, where, like, the sound dips when
Yep.
you're, like, kind of in his perspective of, like, not
Just
hearing what's being said.
yep. You get,
Really
like, his
cool.
ears rattling, he get, like, a very, like, drunk, woozy and Jordan, like, I was when he was getting stabbed and, like, through the meshing, like, stuff that they wear and, like, the metal guards and stuff, I'm going, "Ow," and then he gets one through the hand, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
gross," and I
Yeah.
was like, "This is brutal," and then as he's dying and he's like an egg just, like, the whole time, first he's yelling is it at Sweetfoot that he's yelling and he's like, "Go, go, go," because the horse has no interest. The horse is like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this shit. Like, I'm not going anywhere." And then Egg's yelling at the horse and it starts to go. Egg's got great moments in this. Like, he's got
Yeah.
the moment where he thinks Dunk is dead and he's like, "No," and he yells to the guy that's getting ready to blow the horn to call it,
Yeah,
like,
because he
done.
sees them, like, twitch or move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's like, "No," but I think my favorite part of the whole episode with Egg is at the very beginning, right before it starts, he goes, "Hand me my" what is it? The joust, squire, and
Yeah.
he keeps calling him squire on purpose because you can tell he's still kind of trying to show Egg he's mad at him. But then Dunk has a moment where he goes, "Don't try to rob me, boy, or I will hunt
Put
you,
the
dog, when
dog
my
on you,
dogs
yeah.
hunt you." Yeah, and he goes, "Poof," like Egg goes, "Poof."
Yeah, they have
He's
a
got this
nice
moment of like,
little it's a
yeah,
callback to a few
it is.
episodes ago when he's like, "You don't have any dogs." He's like, "I'll get a dog." But it's kinda him, like, showing him he's good with
He's
them again.
okay. Yeah,
Right.
he's okay.
Nice little, callback there, but
Yeah. What was
yeah,
your
just a lot of really cool moments in this.
so, like, as you're watching this, like, obviously, you know what's going on, but, like, when you're watching this, I mean, like, what are your reactions to it? Because like, I don't know, I've tried to hold off reading the novellas, obviously, and then watching this show is like some of the stuff that doesn't happen in the novella, because there's quite a bit that doesn't happen in the novella in
Mhm.
this one. Like, are you just sitting there going, "Oh, well, that's different," or is it ruining anything for you? Like, you're like, "Oh, I know what
No,
happens."
no, this is an adaptation, so I don't really
Yeah,
mind. I'm not ever one of those people that are like, it has to be by the book,
right.
you know,
That's
because
impossible.
I would just read the book
Yeah.
and never so
Yeah.
but there are key things in it that I think it needs to hit, and this show so far has hit every single one it's needed to do. Key scenes have not been dropped from this. I know people might say the one line from Steely Pate that wasn't said, but they've got that point across through everybody else cheering for him and Steely Pate giving him a discount that the people are on Dunk's side during
Yeah.
this. So that came across on here. The Baelor scene at the end is key. The Baelor scene at the end of last episode, the speech at the end of last episode, those are things that I was looking forward to witnessing on the screen. And they've hit those moments perfectly. And then you get a little bit more like, obviously, when I'm watching this, if there's a scene like when they first introduced Lionel, I'm like, oh, this is all new. They didn't, but
Mhm.
I understood why they're doing it. They're, like I said a few times on here, they're building him up because he plays an important role of coming into his need for the battle here that that you know Beesbury is the only one we don't really know
Yeah.
in this battle here. And if it was all of those that we didn't really know, we'd be like, it wouldn't hit. So being introduced, it hits in the book because you've heard of these people as you're listening to it.
Yeah.
And it's a short book. But on a TV show, if you just see six people there fighting for him and you only recognize Raymond Fossaway, it does not hit the same as being introduced to Lionel, seeing Sir Humphrey get his fight earlier in the episode, seeing Baelor enter for him, the knighting of Raymond Fossaway, all this stuff doesn't hit as well if
It's a good point.
and seeing Sir Robin earlier in the episode where Dunk's where Egg's training the horse,
Right.
all these people would just be like,
Who
you know,
cares? Yeah.
who cares?
That's a good
Exactly.
point.
So in a TV show, you give a little bit more time to spread it, and I think they've done that marketably well so far. And again, I'm curious on next episode as the finale. We know how that's going to end. I'm gonna say it here. They're gonna be heading towards Dorne,
Mhm.
right? So that's where the next story takes place. But it's going to take like I said, I don't know if there's enough space for 30 minutes. So they are going to have to add some stuff, and I'm curious to see what they add next episode. I think.
It's definitely, I think you've got to continue to villainize the Targaryens. I just feel like with what comes, what it feels like is coming is you need to continue to, even if it's with not with Makar. I mean, obviously, Arian. I think that there is going to be a continuation of what happens with them, but I also think you've got to set up. You're gonna have a large portion of it. Like, I mean, Egg is technically in line for for a throne. It just depends on, what happens with the brothers and everything else. So technically this kid is still the royal family, like a part of that royal family. And like part of the king's aren't like he is part of it. So you're gonna have to try to build that out. I do think you get some remembrance of Baelor. I think it'll be interesting to see how people react to Baelor's
Mhm.
death, because I think people really do respect Baelor as a Targaryen and less fearful of them. I do wonder
But they
if,
definitely respect him more now when he
yeah,
joined Dunk's side. Like all those people
right,
at the village there
yep,
are like, he's the one that showed honor and fought against his family for an honorable knight.
yeah,
It's really going to hit, I think, hard
right.
for them.
And the Targaryens can't go away. So like, like it would have the Targaryen house would have collapsed here had if they show signs of like letting up, like that they weren't going to continue to rule the lands. So I'm thinking we're going to have some buildup of Aryan villain type kind of stuff, but again, then I think it's going to be more about Dunk and Egg settling and kind of burying that hatchet because I think they're obviously they're going to continue on this journey together, and I think they've got a lot of work to do with that. Jordan, I got a couple of questions for you. So, what is your interpretation then of was Dunk going to become part of the King's Guard, or like Baelor saying I need good men, or was that more in speaking of the fact that like they just need more knights in the realm like him?
I took it the second way.
Okay, so did I. But I've seen other people say that he was recruiting to see if Dunk would be willing to join the King's Guard.
Could have been. I think that might be getting a little ahead of himself because he's, you know, the way I took it was always the second part of like the reason I even joined this fight is because I believe in what you were doing, and I think we need more people like that. So that's why I backed you, is to show that people should be acting in this way when they're knights. You know, not farting. They should be going out there and we didn't get anything like that this episode.
No, just puke. The Fossaway and Dunk puke, but that's normal.
Puke is I don't put it up there.
We can handle that.
The other stuff. Because that shows nervousness. You know, they were scared.
Yeah.
So no, that's interesting. Yeah, that was. I do wonder what happens if Baelor survives, but
yeah.
Because of what we know, right? Dunk is going to go onward with Egg. So the main thing that's going to be taken care of next episode, like you said, is like a reconciliation. But also, if Egg wants to actually squire for him, they need the approval. They need the approval of Maekar or the king or somebody in the family to say, this is fine. If Baelor had survived, you're right. Maybe he does recruit him into something, but it's his one fight, and he is a hedge knight. I don't know if they would be so quickly to move him into that type of role. But you would think that they would still have had Egg join Dunk officially.
Yeah.
Even if Baelor lives, and maybe not too much changes for those two characters at this point in time. But like we said before, creates a big change later down the line.
And then in the next season, does Egg have hair?
No, I don't think he does, because I think the point of shaving the head going forward
is to not look like a Targaryen.
Yes, he's going to go undercover, from what I understand. Of
that's what I've gathered.
To the common folk, he'll be known as Egg.
Yeah,
and they will not know he's royalty, so that way he can kind of blend in, but also so it won't lead him to be, harmed. But also, people will treat him normally, and he might actually learn. And like I think I stated last week, he becomes known as a very good king for the common folk, not so much for the nobility. And I would assume these adventures have something to do with that, because if he is undercover as a normal squire, people are not treating him as a Targaryen, so he's getting it's like Undercover Boss.
Yeah, he gets the honest scoop. Yeah,
he gets the honest truth.
Yeah. Dude is like,
give me Game of Thrones Undercover Boss. I think I'd like that.
It's just like Egg with different wings.
You can do it two ways. You have Egg constantly like that, and then another season is a more meta approach where George R. R. Martin is going undercover into these shows.
Yep.
And he's learning stuff about the showrunners he doesn't like, and we really get it.
Right. House of the Dragon is screwed. But he already knows he doesn't like them. But no, that's pretty funny. But I did. I was like, so I knew somewhat of what happens next, and like I don't want to be spoiled by it, but like obviously I run across things, and I'd heard that like he's going forward as a spy, but I was like also. Like, is this kid going to keep shaving his hair? Are they going to change that to like, could they just convince him that he doesn't look enough like the Targaryens?
I think he's more blonde. He's got like, I don't know, blonde hair or silver hair in Westeros is a Targaryen. But
that's true.
I would say, I think I just saw a video of him them shaving his hair for season 2.
Because they're already filming it. And then they said there were rumors too that they were getting clips for season 3 already. I was like, that would be wild. That would be weird. Like I was like, that seems
I doubt
weird.
that. Yeah.
But I could see them having outlines for 3. Like obviously moving forward, he's got outlines for all of them. but I feel like the leak is more of they're filming season 2, and with season 2, they have an idea and understanding of where they might be headed in season 3.
Well, yeah, I
And I was
mean,
like,
they're just gonna follow. I mean, they
just gonna
won't have the
follow the
scripts
novella,
ready. They
right?
won't have the scripts ready. But if they know there's a certain scene because it's a novella
Yeah.
that's already out, they could, I guess, capture that scene. But
Yes. I just wondered. I
I
was like,
don't
what
think
does
they
that mean?
will because here's
Yeah.
the thing: you're dealing with children with Dexter, right? So he will get
He'll be
taller between
massive.
2 and 3. So for him to
Yeah.
go like backwards in time, unless if you're getting something that is a flashback that they're going to
Could
show
be.
later, type of
Could
thing.
be.
But I'm really excited for obviously the end of the season next week, but I'm excited to dive into the audio books for the second and third novellas because I listened to the first one right before this season, so it's fresh. But I'm thinking I'm not going to wait that long for the second one. I'm probably going to start listening to it after this season, but I'll probably try to revisit it again since they're short before the season starts because there's no way I'm going to remember everything going into next
I was
season.
gonna
So
say, yeah, you
it's
might
a
have
year
only.
away.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah,
I
it's
miss
only a
shows.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's only 6 episodes, but Jordan, like you said, I'm happy that we're getting the end of it because I have thoroughly. I mean, I put this up there, like, and I'm not even kidding. Like, I might put this above any of the seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, it is my favorite
Yeah, I
so
can't do
far.
that, but
And I know a lot of people can't, but I was like, it was just so good. And you know what I can't wait to do, Jordan? I can't wait to sit down and watch it like almost like it is a movie, to where
oh
I
yeah, like
just
a 3-hour movie.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, like just go and watch. And I was thinking about this because there was a point where in like between episode 1 and 2, I was like, do I just show Ashley this? But then I was also like, if she does watch a Game of Thrones, I feel like it's House of the Dragon. You could probably not, you could get away with showing this after Game of Thrones and then House of the Dragon, because I feel like you really get a good sense of who the Targaryens are. Well, maybe not. I guess you could skip House
I
of the Dragon
think
because
I
like the
think you could
Targaryens,
show this to somebody
even
without
without,
any familiarity and watch it before Game of Thrones.
I just feel like it had the pull of when like Egg. A lot of why I loved when Egg comes into the tent and he said, "Stop," and then he calls the guards by his name and he's like, don't do it. Like you'll have to listen. You'll have to answer to
Yeah.
my father. And he's like, "What happened to your hair?" Like, I feel like that doesn't even land if you don't have any clue who the Targaryens are. Like,
I
I
think
feel
it
like
does
that
because
doesn't.
because they set up the Targaryens as being the ruling class in this. So I
Yes.
think it works in its own. Now, obviously, it hits more for us because we watched Game of Thrones, but
Yeah.
I think
Right.
it does still land because you're being like, oh, he's related to the king. He's related
Mhm.
to Prince Maekar. Okay, I think that makes sense still in the story. The thing that is probably lost is that they don't reference as much their, like you said, their hair color being different, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you do see Aryan and having like the grayish blonde. So when he says I didn't want to look like you can kind of infer, I guess, that it's
Yeah.
the same color hair.
I like, and I was thinking about this too. As I was thinking down that path, I was thinking I loved Daenerys up until a point when she starts to scorch earth. Like
Mhm.
when she starts to turn evil herself, like when the dragons are around.
Yeah.
I rooted for Daenerys up until a point, and then I remember not liking her. But I can't remember what exactly, because again, I've only watched Game of Thrones one time full through, and I've just kind of seen bits and pieces of other ones. So I need to go back, and I think that's what I'm going to do anyway. I'm going to go back and try to convince her to watch it because I was like, I would love to now go back having seen House of the Dragon and then also A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and now watch Game of Thrones and see what I pick
You'll
up on.
understand so much more of the lore and
Yeah,
stuff and the
right.
references to these characters and
Yeah,
stuff.
because have you seen
No,
it two
I think
times
it
through?
can. I think it can work this way too, because
Yeah,
like, let's say she watches this, or anybody watches this, and then you get to Game of Thrones, and it references the Targaryens are out of power, and you're like, oh my god, what happened in between that time? Like, I think it might work
That's
in
a
a
good
little
point.
differently. And then you see like Robert Baratheon as king, and you're like, Lionel's descendant is king.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm
that's a
saying?
good
Like,
point.
you kind of get the reverse way, but yeah,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because then it builds up like, damn, like Daenerys is like a 0 to hero, and then
yeah.
completely falls off. So yeah, we'll see. I need to go back and watch Game of Thrones just because of how much I thoroughly enjoyed that show.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I'm excited for the end, sad for the end, but again, like I said, and maybe it'll change as I go back and recency bias and watch Game of Thrones, but right now I've got this at the top of my Westeros rankings. So
Yeah, I think if you rewatch seasons 3 and 4 of Game of Thrones, you might
yeah,
change your mind.
that's a good point.
But because I would probably put those at the top for me. But yeah, Soups and Sabers at Soups and Saber at Soups and Sabers on all of our social media for me. Logan is also on Logjam Media. We're part of the same podcast network. And you got anything good coming up on Screen Society?
Yeah, so my Pit episode crushed it this week.
Really?
It was a damn good episode. So if anybody is watching,
So you were like Makar's mace going up against Baelor's
yeah,
helmet, and you crushed it.
right, and you even sounded like Baelor after he got his helmet smashed in about a few seconds ago when you're trying
Yeah,
to
when
say
I couldn't
Scoops and
speak.
Sabers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jordan, I covering the Pit, which is also on HBO Max. So if you're subscribed to watch Game of Thrones, make sure before you cancel that to watch the Pit. It is it's between this and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms right now for me. That Stranger Things is over as like you can't miss. It's probably the best TV show on. The Pit is, especially with how well written it is. And then I'm also doing a watch through of Shrinking, which I feel like is starting to gain more and more respect. But Jordan, I think it's a little bit more of a niche audience, which is funny because it's the same exact crew pretty much that has written Ted Lasso and some of our favorite shows like How I Met Your
Yeah.
Mother and Scrubs. So it's a very
Cougar
similar
Town?
vibe. Yeah, Cougar Town. So if you are into that kind of stuff, definitely check out Shrinking. But I'm over at the Screen Society podcast. You can look us up on socials and then anywhere you get your podcast.
Yeah. I just wrapped up. I think I mentioned last week we did our Wonder Man coverage over on Soups and Sabers. We are preparing for Daredevil Born Again season 2 is coming up. Darth Maul, Shadow Lord TV shows coming up. So we'll be covering that kind of stuff over on Soups and Sabers after we're done this A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So one more episode left, Logan, and we'll have to put this on pause until House of the Dragon season 3 comes out later this year. So we get 2 Westeros projects this year.
Yep, pretty excited.
Thank you all for watching and listening along, no matter what podcast feed you listen to it on. But thank you all for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.